And their questions will show up on here.
Perfect.
Cool.
Let's see how we look.
Welcome everybody. Taylor Riley, Beth Manning. We're here to talk about how to buy and sell at the same time. Looks like we've got some people still coming in. So we just wanted to kind of get started with some introductions, talking about ourselves a little bit and how this is going to go. So let's just take a couple minutes while people are coming in to be able to do this. There is a Q&A, well, not a Q&A, but you can be able to ask questions at any time. So anytime that you have a question, you can be able to type it in and we'll take some time to be able to answer those. We'll go for as long as you want us to with your questions that you have. So if you've got a question, make sure that you put it on there and then we can be able to get an answer for you on that question. We're going to take just a couple minutes and let some people roll in right now, and then we'll get started. I'll just start by giving a little bit of information about myself. My name is Taylor Riley. I'm the mortgage officer here at UFirst Credit Union. I'm at the Brickyard branch. I've been at the credit union for 7.5 years. I've worked at credit union since 2005. I love being able to help people with mortgages. I've been doing mortgages primarily for the last 10 years. It's my passion in life to be able to help people. So any way that we can be able to help you with a mortgage, any mortgage questions that you have, anything financial, I love to be able to help. So that's my backstory a little bit. Beth, you want to take a couple minutes or
yes,
a minute?
I would love to. Well, welcome everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today with Taylor and UCredit. So my name is Beth Manning. I have been a resident of Salt Lake City for 13 years now, transplant, woohoo, go Utes. Been serving the community in a real estate capacity as well. And like Taylor, I am a servant leader. I love to serve. I'm very strategic. It's important that we understand what real estate can do to your financial life and how it can change the trajectory of your life.
Absolutely.
We also understand that there are some challenges in today's market. And so part of the reason Taylor kind of put this together, we're problem solvers. And we do understand that sometimes selling and buying at the same time is an anxiety that comes over some of our clients. And so we wanted to just spend a few minutes in talking that through, what that could do for you and how we can help solve those problems.
Absolutely. So this is the, I've probably done a dozen webinars, but this is the first time that I've had it on video. So if my eyes start to wander, I apologize in advance. I'm going to have some eye discipline with a couple different things. I did want to talk to people about how to buy and sell at the same time. I get at least 2 calls a week on our hotline about how to buy and sell at the same time. And it's not an easy thing. It's not like a car where you can just go into the dealership and trade in your car and buy a new one. There are a lot of logistics that go into it. And we'll talk about some of these things and some of the pitfalls that you can be able to avoid, how you can be able to get ahead of the curve and stay ahead of the curve. And all of these things that we're going to talk about, even if, I apologize about that. I thought I turned that off. Even if you don't end up going through and buying and selling, these items that we're going to talk to you about are going to be really good information that I feel every individual should have to be able to help their financial structure and to just be healthier financially. I think every single year, just like you go to the doctor, every single year you should go through and look at your finances, see where your financial situation is. I feel like you should talk to your mortgage officer. I feel like you should talk to your real estate agent. You should talk to your homeowner's insurance agent. Make sure that you're in the absolute best spot. You've got good information. You know where you're at, because you never know what life may throw at you. All right, it looks like we've got a lot of people just coming in. So I think that we'll get started. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to be able to type those up, and then James will let us know that those questions are here. James is our behind the computer guy, and he can be able to help us get those questions on the screen so that we can be able to answer those for you.
Yes, thank you, James.
You bet.
All right. So we're going to talk about, real quickly, if you can pop back there, you can be able to see how to contact us. We'll have this at the very end as well. I give everybody my cell phone number and my email address. I'm available on my cell phone via text or call from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. If you want to get in touch with me, feel free to be able to give me a call or send me a text message. I want to be as accessible as possible for you. I'm like anybody else these days. I got my phone next to my hip 24/7. So if you need something, feel free to reach out to me. I don't know if you're as that accessible where you want people to give you a call at 10 o'clock at night, but I know you answer my calls.
Well, I do answer because we're in partnership to help get our clients taken care of. So I also am available, obviously, especially during most times of transactions, which are crucial, that your team is available for you. So yes.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll get started. All right. So I was looking for a good quote. Beth was giving me a hard time about this quote, but it's what the quote is. An idiot with a plan can beat a genius without a plan. And I see this on Instagram all the time, and where Warren Buffett talks about how important plans are to help successfully navigate the home buying process. So just when you're buying a home without selling a home, I feel like you need to have a good plan and a good team in place to be able to help you out. When you add in the difficult layers of being able to sell your home and buy your new home, there's even more layers to it. And you really need to have a good plan in place so that you can feel comfortable with the process, that you know where you're at, and we can be able to help navigate where you want to get to. Everybody's situation is different and why they're looking to move. Beth, what are some reasons that you see why people are looking to move out of a current home and into a new home? What are the things that you
there's the two obvious ones. Some people want to upgrade and some people want to downsize. And so I think getting back to your point of planning, I feel like sometimes home buying or home selling, or if you put both of them together, people aren't putting some proper attention around that. You know, it's the same in life. If you were going to enroll your kids in school, you have a plan to do that, right? If you're going on vacation, well, you make your reservations, you look at the costs, you do the budget. It's the exact same it should be for your real estate transactions as well, even more so because you're dealing with a major financial asset.
Absolutely. And the thing that we're trying to avoid is for people to give me a call and say, Taylor, or to call Beth and be like, I found the perfect home. I want to go take a look at it. And we're behind the 8 ball already.
Yeah. And by the way, I need to sell my home.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Absolutely.
We want to get things prepared.
Absolutely. All right, so here are some mistakes that we see where buyers fall behind the curve. And once you fall behind the curve, it is difficult to get back up. So we'll just go through these real quick. Number one, a perfect home comes on the market without you being prepared. And I know that this one's difficult because everybody knows a story where a home's just popped on the market. You're having a conversation with a neighbor. I know my parents had this one home in this neighborhood. I didn't even know this growing up, that they just absolutely loved this home. And then it just popped up on the market. And
they're all in.
They were all in. They ended up making an offer and buying on that home. But the 45 days while they were going through it, it was extremely difficult for them because they weren't prepared in any way, shape, or form to be able to do that. And so while you don't know that those things are going to happen, I do feel that there are some common things that you could be able to do to just be prepared in life in the event that something does pop up, so that you can be able to kind of navigate this a little bit better. A big thing right now, just because homes are more expensive, payments are higher, and people think that they can be able to qualify for more because they're financially comfortable. They think about stuff like, oh, well, I'll be able to maybe not sell my home, but I could be able to possibly rent my home. They have current rental income or rental properties that they're receiving income, but they may be writing stuff off so that income may not be there. Bonus income, they may have gotten a new job and there may be commissions or bonuses that may not be eligible because of timeframes and stuff like that. You may have co-signed with somebody on a loan. So there's just a lot of things that can be able to pop up where the financial side could be a problem. Even though that you are financially comfortable, it may be difficult for you. They don't realize the cost of the new mortgage payment when combined with their current debts and what's going into that. So that's important to be able to talk to people about. They find a home before financing is in place. Just because they've had good conversations with their agent or they've had good conversations with their loan officer. Just because we've had good conversations about what you can be able to qualify for doesn't mean that everything's in place for us to be able to move forward with that. So there are additional steps that need to take place so that we can be able to do that. I know that when I talk to agents that a lot of times you guys get excited and you'll start taking people out and then it's like, hey, I need your pre-approval letter. And it's like, oh, I haven't actually done my financing yet. And it's like, what?
Well, I know you're not talking about me,
Yeah.
because that doesn't work in Beth Manning's world, because we want to know exactly what you're pre-qualified for. And look, here's the thing, even if you're just thinking about the process, upsizing or downgrading your house, downsizing, it's all good. It costs you nothing to get a pre-approval. and just work through some numbers and some exercises first, right? I mean, it doesn't ding their credit. It doesn't hurt their credit.
Even
in a
if,
bad way.
even if you do pull your credit, a lot of times people are really concerned about their credit. They're like, I don't want my credit pulled. And
Yeah.
your credit is designed to be pulled 3 to 4 times a year. Is the pull going to affect your score? Well, it is part of the score, but it is designed to be pulled 3 or 4 times a year. So as long as you're not erroneously just having your credit pulled, I mean, that's really the purpose of having that phenomenal credit score, so that you can be able to show it off to people. So allow us to be able to
Show off.
look at that and be able to go through. It really doesn't hurt anything to be in that mode where if you know you're going to be possibly looking at a home, let's get that pre-approval done for you, or at least
Yeah.
sit down and have the conversation to find out if that's where the steps that we're at, where we need to move forward with that, so that we can be able to have you in position that if you do find that home, we can be able to move forward.
Yes, and can I throw one thing in there,
Absolutely.
Taylor? And in addition to all those wonderful things that he said, is I have found that working with consumers, the more meeting with your loan officer first, for some reason takes some of the anxiety out, because it's not a big question mark in your mind, like, well, I don't know, do I qualify or what can my payment be? If you follow the steps we're going to give you, I promise you, we will lessen your anxiety 70%, right? So
I would agree with that. I think even I went through this personally, where we were thinking, my wife and I were thinking about upgrading, and while we were going to look at homes, I never sat down and had a conversation with my wife and said, this is how much
that's a
we can
big
be able to
problem, Taylor.
qualify for. And so we would start to go look at these homes, and I didn't talk to her about payments because I was
Yeah.
doing everything in my mind. I would do it on my phone before I would go
Sure.
see the home. But I never really talked to her about it. So even
Yeah.
when she was going through that, she didn't really know. So, and it does create some anxiety that doesn't need to be there, so that we can be able to
Exactly.
talk about payments. We can talk
Yeah.
about all of that stuff, so you know what's going on.
Plan and prepare.
All right, number 5, people get too excited. They just get a one-track mind where they see the home and they just get really excited. They want to go see it, and they just don't do the prep work, or they don't start on the work immediately when they see the home that they may want to take an offer at or make an offer on. A lot of times they'll hear about, my neighbor is going to be selling their home. Well, they'll want the neighbor to give them information to be able to find out if it's even real. I feel like right at that moment, if the neighbor is thinking about selling a home, you should call your real estate agent, you should call your mortgage officer, so that you can be able to talk about what steps you need to take right then. You're in front of the curve because you have some information. Don't just sit there and sleep on it and think about, oh, what could be. Let's start to take some steps so that we can be able to help you out.
Yeah, for sure. And information is knowledge. And the good news for you is our information is free.
100%.
Right. So
They don't realize the experience or knowledge their real estate agent and their mortgage consultant have to be able to help them. I tell every single person that I meet with that you need to trust your real estate agent, you need to trust your mortgage officer 100%. If you don't, you need to find a new mortgage officer, you need to find a new real estate agent.
1000%.
And we understand that. And so what we want to do is we want to give you our experience. We want to give you our knowledge to be able to help you through how to be able to do this. There are so many ways that you can be able to put together buying and selling a home. And so we just want to go through and find out what you're comfortable with. Just because we've done it for one person doesn't mean that that's going to work for the next person. There may be different things that are going on. Some people may have kids. Their mother may be living with them. And so we can't be as flexible because of those things. We can be able to put almost any situation together to be able to help people in their current situation that they're in.
That is true.
All right. Okay, first part. I think contacting the mortgage consultant first is the most important thing. And the reason,
I would agree with that.
Oh, good. I'm glad you agree with that.
He is the first step.
I'm the first
1000%.
First step.
Yes.
We want to discuss your options. And the first thing is, how much do you qualify for? And we need to go through your financial situation. And we can be able to do this. The first thing we don't need to do, we don't need to pull credit. We can be able to go sit down and have a conversation about these things. We can have a dozen conversations before we even get to that point. But really, how much do you qualify for? We need to go through and find out what your current assets are. We need to find out what your current debts are. We need to find out what your income is. What kind of income do you have? Is it just W-2 income? Are you self-employed? Do you have new bonuses or overtime that you've had? One of the benefits of COVID in certain industries is that people have had a lot of overtime that we can be able to use. So it's a way that we could possibly be able to boost income that hasn't been there in the past. So we need to go through and find out how much you qualify for. We may not be able to find out right then how much you qualify for because we might need to take some steps. We may need to get a verification of employment. And so it's not just immediate information that we could be able to give you. Now, we can give you a range and say, if the income is this is what you could be able to qualify for. But it really starts to help us down the road of what you can be able to do in terms of a number. The second thing is the down payment. What's the average home price in Salt Lake County right now?
550.
550.
Almost 6 maybe now.
Okay, so let's just say 6 because I can be able to do that math a little bit
Okay,
easier.
let's make it easier.
So if you're doing 5% cash down on the new home, which is the minimum, if you're buying a second home in terms of you've already had a mortgage in the last 3 years, you have to put a minimum of 5% cash down. So that would be $30,000. And so is that something that you have available right then or access to be able to do it? And so how much is available for you? Do we have to use your current equity in your home? All of those things are items that we can be able to take a look at in your situation. Some people come in, they're like, I can easily be able to put 20% down. That's not a problem for me. Some people, I don't have that much. I need to find alternative solutions, and we can be able to go through and find out what those are. These are things, another step where getting in front of the 8 ball is there for you. And this is not something that we need to, we do right away to be able to help you. Okay, you're buying a home in the next 60, 90 days. So one of the things that I talk to people about when we're talking about long-term solutions is getting a home equity line of credit. Values have soared. I think everybody should have a home equity line of credit. If you have a zero balance on it, you don't pay anything for it, but it's there for you in the event that you need it. And that's what you can be, that could be one of the first steps that we take. It doesn't cost you anything. We go through, get that taken care of for you. You have the equity available basically to transfer from property A to property B if it's something that you move on in the future.
We had a couple questions.
Yeah, hit us.
This is from Jerry. Both my significant other and I own our homes mortgage-free and are debt-free. Our only income is Social Security and FICO scores of 815 plus.
Excellent.
Wow.
And we have enough savings to put 20% down. We're told we can only qualify based, we can only qualify based on our Social Security income. Is that true?
Well, it depends. So initially, yes, but what are you doing with the other properties if you're looking at downsizing or moving into another home? So if you are going to use those as rental incomes, you could be able to get rental agreements in place and we can use 75% of that. So if both of those homes were going to be rented for $2,000, we can increase the income by $3,000 because $1,500 on each property and be able to use that. There are other things that are available as well that people don't know about. So if they have a 401k or if they have a retirement account, they can start to draw on that and we can possibly boost their income from that. Sometimes people don't want to do that for tax purposes, but we only need it for 1 month. So if somebody has enough in a savings account, like an IRA or something like that, they can start to pull from that for 1 month. We can be able to increase their income so that we can be able to get them qualified for what they need to do. It may cost a little bit in taxes, but it's a way that they can be able to do it. So there's a lot of different ways that we can be able to put that together to be able to help them out.
There's some workarounds for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, and Jerry said they would sell them. So.
Okay. So if that's the case, if you're selling the properties, then that's the cash down. If there isn't any other assets that we could be able to increase the income, then that is accurate. However, if you got 2 homes that you're selling, the cash down, that's where it's important to be able to talk about how much you qualify for. A lot of times people are like, well, I only want to do a 10 or 15-year loan because I'm older. Okay, I can understand that, but we need to do a 30-year loan to mitigate the payment so that we can be able to help them qualify for as much as possible. So a lot of different things get put into place. That's where we can be able to sit down and have a conversation to help people out.
And congrats to Jerry. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, again, real estate does change the trajectory. Imagine if Jerry didn't have those properties.
100%.
Good job, Jerry.
Esther says, let's see, what is better, sell your home first and then look for a new one, or the other way around? Without the housing market changing like crazy here in Utah, neither of them seem like without risks.
Well, there's risks everywhere, right? I mean, and one of the reasons for us to come in and talk about this is this exact question. You know, there's some strategies we put together. First is obviously pre-qualify, look at the numbers with Taylor. Second is then we would look at your home, kind of do what's called a market analysis. We would look at, you know, the condition of your home, what some of the homes sold for around the area, and the location to come up with a value for your house. Then you could see how much equity you have in that to kind of offset if you're going to buy a new buy or not. So there's little steps along the way we want you to be conscious of and be a good consumer with. So once we get all those kind of numbers together, then we kind of do it simultaneously. And the good news is that we can build into the legal contract things that protect you, that should you not find your new house, then you're not moving forward with the sale, right? So there's all these little protections along the way that we can write into the real estate purchase contract.
Yeah, and I agree with that. There's a lot of different ways that you can be able to put it together. I had one of these recently where there was an individual that I had helped them with their purchase a few years ago. They wanted to sell. I had dozens of conversations with her, but she just didn't feel comfortable. And I kept talking to her agent about it as well. We had a really good relationship with everything, but she just didn't really feel comfortable. Her agent got sick, and so they had to bring in another agent. Okay. So I found out about this, and I was like, oh man, I worked really well with Paula. I worked really well with the agent, but I didn't know about this new agent. The new agent wouldn't call me, wouldn't contact me. I was really, really worried. She finally called me, and she was like, Taylor, I apologize I haven't called you, but I finally got the buyer to agree to a plan. And I was like, perfect. What is this plan? And she was like, well, she understands the market, what's going on with everything. So what we're going to do is, can they be able to, if I get their home under contract,
Okay.
and then we say, okay, once they get the home under contract, they have 30 days to find a new home. And what was really the problem for the seller is she was worried about selling her home. Through all of my conversations, I never got that. And I really pride myself on knowing, I want to know what the primary goal is or what the problem is. Those two things.
Sure.
I never quite got that. And once they were under, we knew what the problem was, that she wanted to sell her home. They put the home on the market that weekend. They got it under contract. They had 30 days to find a new home, but they had the legal stuff in there where they could be able to cancel that contract.
1000%.
And they were able to find, they already had a home that they looked at a couple times, and everything just fell into place. And so the agent just needed to find a good strategy to make the consumer feel comfortable and overcome their concerns of what's going on. As I said, there's a lot of different ways that they can be able to put this together. But once we had that in place, boom, we had everything wrapped up in 40 days.
Yeah, and again, back to the very initial point Taylor is making, we've got to get all the pieces in place before we make the move.
Yeah.
We're expert chess players. We're expert in the residential real estate field. So we could do one of two ways. We either build in language, as I said, we can either, if you're more concerned about finding the place, like you don't want to give up your home you like, if you're concerned you're going to find the place you love, then let's go find the place first, then put your house for sale.
Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid your house is going to sit on the market, homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer than they did last year, then let's put your house up for sale first. Again, we're prepared, we're strategic, we have language in every single purchase contract, so we have you covered.
Yeah. And the easiest way to do it, when people come in, I always try and find out, like, what's the plan? They would really like to be able to buy the new home, keep their current home, and then we can be able to structure the financing with everything long term. And so you can.
We would all love that.
Yeah, but
right? I mean, that's ideal.
That's not always the possible for people,
Yeah.
and it's becoming more and more difficult as homes become more expensive. And so those are the things where we can be able to go through. If that plan doesn't work, let's move to the next plan of what you're comfortable with. So as I said, there's a lot of different ways that we can be able to put that
exactly.
together. What loan is best for you and what stage of life that you're in? We have a lot of different loan options that are available. And so we need to find out what's going to be best for you. A lot of times people are worried about what the payment's going to be long term. And one of the benefits that I love being at the credit union is that we're able to recast people's loans, and it doesn't cost anything to be able to do it.
Oh, this is a good point.
Yeah.
Recasting is a secret I think a lot of you consumers don't know about.
I'll talk about recasting right now. So we've done this a few times where we help somebody purchase a new home. They have a payment. They're only putting maybe 5% cash down. So the payment's going to be inflated. They go through and they sell their old home, and now they've got $200,000 and they put it towards the new loan. Most financial institutions and most brokerages or servicers won't allow that payment to change, or they're going to charge you money to be able to get that payment to change. We make it so easy where we get on the phone with Liz. She works in one of our departments. I call Liz on the phone. I'm like, Liz, I got somebody who needs to do a recast. She says, perfect. Give me their contact information. She gets in touch with the individual, has a quick conversation, draws up a document, sends it over, and they sign it. Basically, what it allows you to do is it allows you to reset that payment as if you would have put that money down when you purchased the home initially.
At the beginning, yeah.
So it doesn't
Yep.
change anything until you may have an inflated payment for a couple months while you're going through the selling process, but that's something that we can be able to do.
Yep.
I use that all the time for people. It's not something that there's a couple rules that are in place. You have to put at least 10% cash down to be able to do that. But that's where we find the best loan product for you, because not all loan products allow it. So we
Okay.
do need to make sure that we get you into the proper loan product if that's going to be the plan, so that we're
Okay,
getting
so
you into
here's
this one.
another question that our consumers probably want to know. How
Yeah.
long do they have? Let's say they buy a house, they find their house, they put the 10% down,
Mhm.
and then 3 months later, their house sells.
Okay.
And then they have all that equity to put towards the new house.
Okay.
Is there a time frame on the recasting
They can do it at
expiration
any
date?
time. No.
They can do it in 10 days, 30
Yep.
days, 60 days,
Yep.
120 days,
Yep.
a year.
Anytime. They could do it. Yeah.
Okay,
5 years into the
that's-
loan.
wow.
You know, they get an inheritance and they want to do that. That's something that they can be able to do. One of the big concerns that people typically have is mortgage insurance. If you're only putting 5% down, 10% down, you have mortgage insurance.
Right.
But the thing is that I look at it as a cost of doing business. You may have the mortgage insurance for a couple months, but the
Yes.
mortgage insurance may only be doing anywhere between $75 and $150 a month.
Right.
And so when we're looking at a cost of $150 or $300 to be able to go through and do this, I don't really think of it as that big of a deal,
I agree
because
with
it's
you
a very,
100%,
it's a
yeah.
mitigated, we have cheaper costs at the credit union to begin with. If you're able to put 10% down, it's going to be cheaper. But once you do that recasting, the mortgage insurance goes away because you put the 20% cash down. There's not a minimum amount of time that you have to have the mortgage insurance on the loan if you're paying the cash down to be able to get the equity under that
It's
portion.
good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
This
So
is good
it's
stuff.
very easy
Yeah.
to be able to go through and help people understand that they don't need to be concerned with that stuff.
Eileen asked a question, what is the advantage of going through you first versus another lender?
That's a great question. Well, there's quite a few things that are there. So the first thing is I feel like we have a really good process in how we can be able to get a pre-approval set up for you. And so I like to be as involved as possible with helping people answer their questions and make my cell phone available. We service our loans long-term, so you'll always make your payment to the credit union, which is a big thing. I'm not really looking for a relationship to be able to help somebody for 30 days and buy their home and they're gone. So if you have any
Yeah.
questions long-term on your loan, if you have an escrow question, who do you call? You call Taylor. If you get any phishing scams in the mail, you've got something that says it's from You First Credit Union. You take a picture of it and text it and say, hey, Taylor, I got this in the mail today. What is this? It looks like a phishing scam. It's not from us. Or, oh, it looks
Yeah.
like in our system, we got something triggered where your insurance, we haven't been able to verify your insurance, or something might be with your insurance. I'll contact Sean and say, Sean, I just got in touch
Yeah.
with somebody and they said that they got this letter in the mail, and he'll be able to let us know, yeah, we need to verify their insurance. They may have switched providers or stuff like that. We really want to have a relationship. I want to have a relationship from the time that we initially talk until you get your loan paid off to a zero balance.
And may I answer that question?
Absolutely.
I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not an employee of You First. I'm actually a customer. And I can tell you, when my husband and I purchased our changed homes, we sold a house and bought a house. We actually, prior, we were with Chase. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names. And then we decided to buy a loan through You First. I can tell you, anytime I had a question about if I wanted to make early payments, we want to make early payments on our, oh gosh, not the interest, on the principal.
Mhm.
I was always connected to an 800 number and no one knew. No one at the branch knew. I was so irritated. But since we've been local, everything is local. You pick up the phone and on our new loan here, we've been able to get answers. And of course, we have Taylor in our back pocket too. So again, I'm not getting paid for any of this, but just from my perspective as a consumer of You First, this is the place for us to be. So.
Yeah, and I have never telling people I actually left the credit union in November and went
Oh,
and
that's
worked for a
right.
brokerage.
Oh, yeah.
And I
He
came
did.
back in June, and it
He
was one of the
did.
things. I worked here for 7 years prior to.
Yeah.
I just feel at home here. I love it. One of the things that
Yeah.
really turned me off where I had gone to is that my loans started getting sold. And so people would call me and they'd be like, hey, I just got a
Yeah.
letter that my loan's being sold. And I'm like, I was told that was
Yeah.
only going to happen about 10% of the time, and it was happening
And so
regularly.
what that means is who you've applied for and got a loan with,
Mhm.
they sold it off to some third party somewhere else.
Yep.
And so again, that goes back to you as the consumer trying to get a hold of the 800 number I don't know where I'm calling half the time, and half the time I feel like I never got my answers. So anyways, that's keeping it local. I
Yeah,
think is a good thing.
absolutely. It makes me feel comfortable because anytime that somebody gives me a call and being here as long as I have, even if I don't have the answer, I know who to contact. Like I don't take care of the recasting, Liz does, but I can call Liz 8909 and boom, she picks up the phone and we can be able to get everything taken care of. So it does make it really, really nice. Did we have any other questions? Nope. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Beth, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Yeah.
And
I need glasses,
Take it
guys.
away.
We're in our 50s now. All right. So what is your current value? What could be, what could your value be if you did XYZ? What other projects need to be finished? What are the achieved effectively? Okay. So all this is pertaining to selling. And the first thing I think that is helpful for you to even make the decision if you want to sell and buy is really understanding how much equity and how much could you get for your existing house. If I was in those shoes, that would be the very first question. Is it even worth it, right? So, we would do a market analysis, as I mentioned earlier, that really looks at your house. I'd want to get in your home because sure, the analysis is the value of the homes that sold within a certain period of time around your neighborhood. It's your location, and it is the condition of your house. And here's the thing. Now the market's shifted. It's kind of readjusted itself a little bit. Homes are staying on the market longer. And, homes need to be in really sharp, pristine shape these days to get attention. So I'd want to come into the house and see, do we need a little paint job? Do we need to do a little curb appeal? What low dollar items can we do just to keep make your house pop out from the others that are on the market? So that would be the first step that we would do, is do a market analysis. Are there any projects that need to be done? I mean, did you half paint a room? I mean, did you install wood floors on half of the room? I don't know. I mean, there's always projects around the house. I mean, I still have doorknobs and things I have to put on. We just remodeled our basement, right? There's just unfinished things. We want your house just to look sharp, to look clean, to look ready, right? And again, because there is a bit more competition, houses are staying on the market longer. The best we can get your house, can we declutter it, which is a big thing as well. We want to declutter it. You kind of want to make it, which is so hard to live during a sale at times. Let's just acknowledge the truth, right? You got the dog, you got the kids, you got dinner dishes from the day before, and you're trying to put your house on the market. But there's a certain period of time, if we can declutter it and keep things cleaned up, we'll have certain periods of time where there are open houses, where we'll do a big deep clean, make your house presentable. Those are some of the things that we would talk about and go through together if you're considering the sell process.
Beth, I got a question for you, because one of the things that I have people talk about all the time is that they think that homes are going to be cheaper in the winter than they are in the spring or summer.
I've heard that one for a number of years too. I just I don't know. Where does that exist? That's all I want to say. I don't even know.
I feel the same way. And so,
especially our market. I mean, we're a highly desirable place. We have lots of folks from other states moving. We've got the beautiful outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
We're just a great little spot, Salt Lake and beyond, to live. So I haven't seen that. If you want to fall into that myth, you can. But that's not been my experience for sure.
Do you find that it's, is there a time of year that is easier to sell, or is it just each season brings different circumstances when you're going through the selling and buying process?
Well, it certainly brings different circumstances. I mean, we are constantly getting new recruits. We have various universities on the East Coast that are the U is what do I want to say? The U is constantly recruiting professionals and professors and fellows. We have Silicon Slopes now constantly. We have new companies moving in. I don't think the time of the year really exists. However, what I'd like to say is right before school starts, I find a little bit more frenzy because, families that are moving here, they want to get in the right school district, in the right place, in the right spot. But an overall blanket statement like that, I don't think just exists anymore.
I would agree with that. I think that just brings different circumstances. There are times where people talk about they're busier. Oddly, Christmas Eve, I am always popping. I have, and I don't consider, I love Christmas more than almost anybody, but Christmas Eve is not a holiday for me until about 5 o'clock. So I love it. And it's just one of those things.
Wait, what does that mean you're popping? You're going under
Oh.
contract or are you getting pre-approvals?
Pre-approvals. I have usually
Merry Christmas,
three or
honey. Here
four
is your dream
appointments
house.
that I usually have in the morning time. So I love Christmas Eve.
That's
There's
funny.
different times of the year where it does get a little bit busier. I know like July, it gets a little slower for us because of the 2 holidays.
Yeah,
but
we got the 2 holiday month. Yeah.
the thing is that the agents and home buyers, there are tons of us always available. And so
Absolutely. Yeah.
whenever you want to buy a home, whenever you want to sell a home, we'll deal with the circumstances that we have and make sure that we get you the best information possible so that we can be able to help you and accomplish what you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any questions? Did I
We had a
answer?
couple-
Okay.
We had a couple come in. So Dee asks, if selling my home, which is paid off, and I have not yet found a new home, how long do I have to reinvest that equity into my new home once selected before I have tax issues? Maximum time.
That is a great question, and I'm not going to give you an answer on that. I would highly recommend that you talk to a tax professional. I'm a big fan of talking to professionals. So
Mhm.
I would not hop on the internet. I would talk to a tax professional. I am more than happy to give you a contact if you'd like to be able to talk to somebody. Not going to cost you anything, but you'll definitely want to talk to somebody who can be able to help you with that so you don't run into any problems. Each situation is different. I know that I found this out. If you're over a certain age, you get a one-time tax bereavement in terms of if you sell your home. So there's different situations that are always popping up, and things that were okay in 2012 are no longer there in 2013, and sometimes they do get extended. So we need to be aware of that, and that's where a professional can be able to help you.
Yeah, and I want to say just kudos to Dee. For any of you that don't know what she's talking about, I mean, these are things, again, as talk to an accountant or Taylor, you can explain it on the mortgage side. But, you know, again, we're talking about big financial sums of money through real estate, and any money that we're able to make, we want to keep and not give away.
Absolutely.
So good job, Dee, for just doing your due diligence and asking those questions.
Well, and sometimes people think that there's going to be a tax liability, but there are things that are available, like a 1031 exchange, where if you're moving it from property 1 to property 2, like a title company could be able to help with that sort of stuff. So that's where talking about each situation, it's not just selling your home and sitting on the money. What are you looking to do? Is this a primary residence, a secondary residence, an investment property?
Right.
There's a lot of things that are available for you. We just need to make sure that we're getting the right people involved to give you the proper information so you can be able to make a good decision for you and your family.
Yep. Good.
Great. Jerry asks, what closing costs should we expect now?
Good question, Jerry.
That is a good
Jerry's
question.
on it today.
It depends on the type of loan product, because we talked about that earlier. The credit union has loan products that are shorter terms that don't have any closing costs associated with them. So we've got 5, 7, 10, 12-year loan options that are available that don't have any closing costs, and the rates are really, really good. So
that's interesting.
It really just depends on the situation that you're in and the type of loan product that you're at. And the market kind of dictates that stuff. Rates are a little bit higher. And so 15-year rates right now are really weird. It's difficult to be able to get a 15-year rate where you're not paying some sort of discount points. And the reason is just because the rate doesn't allow us to go high enough where we don't have to charge those sorts of things.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's say Jerry is a typical 30-year loan.
Okay.
What is the percentage that he can expect or a consumer can expect?
Well, I want to have a conversation about a little bit more.
Okay.
So I'm not just going to give an answer of 2% or something like that.
Okay, because I was looking for that answer.
I know you were. But the thing is, we want to find out, how long are you planning on being in the home? Are you recasting the loan? Like, what is your situation and what you're looking for? Because a lot of times it's easy for a mortgage officer to sell a lower closing costs, or excuse me, a lower rate. Everybody wants a lower rate.
Sure.
But the thing is that maybe that lower rate, it doesn't make any financial sense for you to do that. If I'm saying that you need to pay, you're buying you're going to have a $600,000 loan. 1 point is $6,000. So I'm saying that your closing costs are going to be a point of $6,000. If you're planning on being in that home for 3 years and then you're going to be moving, or if you're planning on paying that home off in a short period of time, it doesn't make any financial sense to pay anything in terms of that because you're not staying in your loan long enough. So before I answer that question, I want to find out the details of what you're planning on doing with that home long term. Well, I have conversations with people from the U, they move here and I ask them, how long are you planning on being here? I'm buying this home. I don't know if I'm going to hold on to it long term. I'm going to be here for at least 3 years and then I'm probably going to be moving. Okay, well, if you're going to be buying a home, it doesn't make any sense to pay any closing costs. You would want to
Okay.
do a little bit of a higher rate. So I would say that 2% would be a comfortable amount, that just to say, okay, if I'm just throwing out a percentage, I would say
Okay.
2%. I think
However,
in this market.
contact your loan officer first,
yes.
just to see the best scenario. Because quite frankly, if you can save tens of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars
Absolutely.
taking a shorter term loan, why not?
I remember
If the
during
numbers work.
the pandemic when it first started and they were talking about lower rates, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning and I was yelling at the TV. I was kind of embarrassed, but I was
dear.
yelling at the
6
TV.
a.m.
And my wife came down
Please no.
and she's like, "What is going on?" And I was like, "I can't believe what this loan officer's doing. Like the amount of money that he was charging in closing costs to make people feel good for getting a certain rate.
Oh,
I thought was
that's
criminal."
so disheartening.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And the
that's
thing was
worst.
that yes, it feels good to be like,
Yeah.
oh, my rate on a 15-year was at 1.9%. Well, that's great, but how much money did you pay to be able to get into that loan? When I go through and I do the math, like it's going to take you 12 years
Yeah.
before you break even on that. Like I don't know anybody who
Yeah.
keeps a 15-year loan for 12 years.
So I have an idea for a t-shirt. Instead of OMG, how about OMR?
Yes.
Oh, my rate.
Yes, absolutely. We need to talk about that. So each situation's different about what we're looking to do for you. Okay. Any other questions, James?
Well, like Dee said she'd like a contact person to begin the learning process, so I assume she just needs to reach out.
Yeah, I'd give myself a call or give Beth a call, wherever you want to start with it, but just to have a conversation. This would be a really good time to bring this up. And I talked about it at the very beginning. I really feel like it's important for you to be able to have a good knowledge base of this stuff. And so giving myself a call, giving Beth a call to be able to talk about how much is your home worth. You should have a good idea about how much your home is worth. You never know what's going to happen. You may need to move because of a job. You want to have all these people in place with what you've got going on. So have these conversations. Am I in the best possible position? I always talk to people about talking to their insurance agent every single year. And so do I need to add different types of coverage with what I've got going on? I've added another child. I'm thinking about a pool. What are different stuff that you've got going on? I'm thinking about adding solar panels. What are some things that I can be able to do to save money? My cars are getting older, or I'm getting a new car. Am I making sure that I'm getting the best rates possible?
Yeah. So you want that team behind you. Will there be the phone numbers for Dee again that pop us up? So
we'll
Dee.
have those at the end. And
Okay,
also we'll be
great.
sending information out afterwards.
Okay, so Dee, jot down those numbers, or an email's coming your way, I guess, with the
Absolutely.
presentation. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dee.
Okay.
And then Joshua asks, if you buy a house first, how long do you have to sell your old house?
In terms of,
I don't understand that.
yeah.
If you buy your house first.
How long do you have to sell your old house?
So I'm assuming,
go ahead.
Joshua, no, I was going to say, maybe you can get clarify that a little more, but I'm assuming, so just know if you bought a house and you still own a house, then you have 2 house payments.
Correct.
Right? So you're going to have to, again, know your finances and pre-approval and numbers. So you'll be able to see, okay, how long do I have to hang on to these house, to the house that I need to sell before it's a disaster for me and my family. And those are really important numbers to have. But again, we build in language to allow you to get out of contracts.
Yeah.
So we try and make this as seamless as possible for you, Josh.
One of the other things that I've had pop up in the past where people have come in and they're like, I want to put the 20% down. I talked about mortgage insurance before.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, why don't you only put 10% down or 15%? Because you know you're going to be selling your home and putting it towards that. You have that money. Because the last thing that I want somebody to do is to deplete their savings is trying to remove the mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
And then they get into a situation where maybe their home takes a little bit longer to sell than they were planning, or their plans change because they decide that they want to rent the home rather than sell the home. So that's where we can be able to go through, talk about all these situations and make sure they're making the best position with maybe some things could be able to change in that time frame with what we have going on. So we'll just talk about all of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, he says if you make an offer with a contingency, what is the general time period for that contingency?
Well, I mean, it could be several months, how long do you need, Josh?
Yeah.
I just want to know.
We like to get specific.
Yeah.
Each situation is different.
Yeah. I mean, so through my experience, I think the most that we've ever done that was 60 days. But again, we were prepared, preps, we were strategized and ready to roll. So, and it's interesting, you might actually find in this market that some people that are selling their home, maybe the one you want to buy, maybe they need to stay in their home for another 60, 90, 120
Yeah.
days until they find a home back in
Yeah.
Wyoming where they want to move back for. So there's a lot of different little nuances and strategies to the deal. But I hope we answered your general question,
Yeah.
Josh.
No, and I agree with that, because there's been plenty of times where I'll have a conversation with, so I'm helping a borrower, and I talk to the agent, and I'm like, well, what are we looking at in terms of timeline, stuff like that? They'd be like, oh, they actually don't want to close for 90 days. And I'm like, whoa, why don't they want to close for 90 days? Well, in one of these situations, the individual, they were building a home, and they had
Yes.
an adult autistic son. And so it was going to be very difficult for that son to be able to move. So the last thing they wanted to do was to move twice.
Yes.
Once was going to be hard
Totally
enough. We didn't
makes
want to do
sense.
twice. So when we go through,
Yeah.
okay, they really wanted this home. Now we need to set it up a little bit different, because that's not normal to be able to do a 90-day time frame. So each situation is different. You've got a borrower that, or excuse me, a seller who's got their life. You've got a buyer who's got their life. There's a lot of different stuff that's there, and that's why getting to this. Can you go to the next slide, James?
Yeah.
Having your real estate team assembled and on the same page is absolutely paramount. And so we want to make sure that you're comfortable with the individuals, you're comfortable with the people that you're working with. Together, we need to strategize about how we can be able to help you achieve your goals. Everybody's goals are different. And so there's literally dozens of ways that we can be able to put this together, and how we can be able to help you find that new home. And so we want to give you options and say, okay, this is with your current financial situation, this is what we can be able to do for you. And these are the three options. Which option do you think is best? Take all three to your agent. And because I know there are times where I'll call Beth and I'll start to have a conversation with her, and Beth's like, well, what about this? And I'm like, I didn't even think about that. That's actually a really good point. Could you do this? And there are times where Beth will ask me, can you do this? And I'm like, why would we want to do that? And so I'll ask,
and you bet I'm going to tell him why.
Like, why do we want to do this? And so we just want to go through and make sure that I'm understanding why we're looking at doing that. And then once I understand, oh, that's what you're trying to accomplish, that's actually not the best way to be able to do that. If that's what you're looking to do, we want to move into this sphere and be able to go through. So it's really just about putting your professional hat on and putting your heads together to make sure that we find out what's going to be best for you and what you're trying to accomplish.
1,000%. And I would also say, you know, whether we're your team or not, you need to get callbacks within an hour. 100%. I can't tell you how many times I've been biting my nails. I didn't know the lender on the other side. It was a larger institution, you know, hit this extension. And, you know, my goal is to fight for my client. And unfortunately, I don't know this other lender, and I don't have a relationship with them. I don't have their private cell number. I can't get a hold of them at 10 o'clock at night. Sorry to your wife. And so these are really important and strategic, because of course we're dealing with a major asset in your life. So let's treat it that way. Don't just choose any Tom, Dick, or Harry off the street. Really do your due diligence and find professional people to help you navigate this process.
Yeah, and I remember one deal that we had where the boys, remember, and we ended up, I didn't end up doing the loan for him because we had a problem with it.
We had a problem.
And so we had to go through, and it was, I can't remember the details on it, but I remember we couldn't do the loan because I want to say that they got a bunch of other debt.
There was debt accrued, which you should never do during the process when you're under contract. It was really a
so we
challenge.
had to, but the thing was making sure that
we did do it.
We got it done.
But Taylor, we actually moved it to a different lender.
Move it over.
But it was just what we had to do.
But it was really just about making sure that, okay, well, we've got everything. And I know I talked to that other lender and sent them a bunch of stuff.
Yes, you were so helpful.
And so it's really just about making sure that we can be able to help everybody that's going on. So, or everybody of what they've got going on. So those are the things that will pop up. And that's where I feel like having a good real estate team to be able to help people. And the thing is, like, I would love to do the loan, but if there's some reason that you're going with somebody else because they've got better pricing or stuff like that, that happens.
That has happened. And I do appreciate your sharing that with our clients, my clients, right?
Absolutely. So, I have no problem. There are times where people call me on the phone and I'm like, the lender's doing this, and they'll verify. And I'm like, they're giving you this rate and these closing costs. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, you need to stop calling people because you're not going to find something that's better than that. You need to call them back and say, do that. And that's the thing. Like, I want to be authentic. We want to be Authentic, thank you. As much as possible to be able to help people, because we just really want to make sure that you're getting taken care of. If it's something that we can do, we're here to be able to help you. If it's something that we can't, we want to refer you to people who can be able to get you taken care of. There are very few times that we
1000%,
have
yeah.
to do that, refer people to other places.
That's true,
But
yeah.
it happens. We only lend in the state of Utah here. So if you're looking elsewhere, we can be able to get you in touch with people that we trust to be able to get you taken care of. I've had quite a few of my clients that have moved to Oregon, oddly enough. I don't know why
Really?
they're all moving to Oregon.
I love the Pacific
Yeah,
Northwest.
but they're
It's such
moving
nice
to
weather.
Oregon, and I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
lender that I trust that is a really, really good
Yep.
guy, and he can be able to help you with that. And so that's where we'll get you in touch with people,
for sure.
because if you need something, we can be able to get you taken care of on that.
Yeah,
stuff.
and I just wanted to piggyback on top of that, we're community people. We live in the community. We're not going anywhere. We've been here for years.
Yeah.
And so, it's important for us, as you said, to be authentic.
Authentic.
He got it
I
right.
got that.
To be honest and to run our business in an ethical manner.
Yeah.
So again, he's got loan officers all over the state, all over the U.S. I've got realtors all over the U.S. If we can't help you, we'll find the right team to help you. So.
Absolutely. Any other questions, James?
Joshua just asked, in your experience, how much does a contingency weaken an offer?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. Joshua, right now is a great time for you to move forward in your plan because houses are sitting on the market a bit longer as we're doing this readjustment. I would say last year, if you were putting this plan into action, you probably would bow out for a while. Last year was a really tough year of contingencies. I never saw them.
Yeah.
No one ever grabbed them.
Well, and the market changes, and it can change really quickly. And so one of the things that I saw, and each market can be a little bit different. I was looking at some data in April, May about what was happening in Utah County. And Utah County, it was 50.9% of homes sold below list price.
I think I've heard that.
And I remember seeing that, and I was like, whoa. And so I got on the phone and called a couple of my people that I know that primarily do stuff down in Utah County, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, we don't know. But on top of that, 35% of homes were selling within 4 days of being listed. So while that was happening, you still, if you put your home on the market and you weren't being greedy with how much you were listing it for,
you got it under contract.
You got it under contract.
Within
So
a few
while
days,
the market was softening a little bit, it still was very competitive for the people that were doing it the right way.
Right.
And so that's where a good agent can be able to help you with all of that stuff. Just because of what was going on in 2018 is not available in 2020, it doesn't mean it's not going to be available in 2021. It is not uncommon for me to see right now for a seller to ask for a closing cost to be paid for it and the buyer to agree, or excuse me, the seller to agree to it.
That's right. So I just got one of my clients under contract, and interestingly enough, Joshua, she started to look last year. And last year she decided to gracefully bow out because I got it. I mean, she didn't have, she wanted a inspection, which every buyer deserves an inspection, right? She wasn't putting $30,000 over asking price. So I'm really glad I had said, why don't you just take a pause? She wasn't in a hurry. So we took a pause. Guess what? We got her under contract. We started looking 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago. We got her under contract, lower price point, some closing costs were paid for, home warranty was included. So it's really actually a good time for a buyer.
Yeah.
Tables are turning. They do, life goes in waves, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's nice with have the people together. I remember we worked on a deal in December where you asked, finally got these people, or we were making an offer. We felt really good about the offer. And you said, can you get this done by the 27th of December?
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like,
I do those
well,
things
you
too.
asked what day. And I said, oh, the 5th.
And I said, great,
and
the
you're,
27th.
And you're like, well, can you do it the 27th? And I was like, well, the 5th would be really good.
I said, but can
and
you
you're
do the
like,
27th?
well, we need to do it the 27th to get this under contract. And I was like, okay, I knew it was going to be tight. I knew that I could be able to do it. We did have holidays in there, but it was one of those things where got under contract. If I had said, no, I can't do it until the 5th, they may not have gotten under
That's very
contract.
true, right.
But at the same time, I know my time frame that I have, or just like, Beth, I can't get it done in that time frame. We have somebody we're working with right now where it's an FHA loan. It takes longer to do an FHA loan than a conventional loan. There's just things that go along with it. So if you're looking to do a 22-day turnaround time with an FHA loan, that's extremely difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. So each situation is different to make sure that we're getting you in a good timeline so that we're not over promising something and under delivering.
Right. So Joshua, I hope we answered your question. If not, reach out. You'll get the numbers and the email and that kind of stuff. So
All right, let's get to that next page, finish this
We're
up.
just wrapping up, guys. Bear with us here.
Now that you have a plan, let's get your financing in place to move forward. You want to get that pre-approval letter. I mean, we've done all of this stuff. You've talked to your agent, you've talked to your lender, you know this stuff. If you are thinking we might, even if it's we might be looking at something, I always ask the question, if you were to find the perfect home today, would you make an offer on that home? If they say yes, we need to get a pre-approval letter for you right then. And
Okay.
so it's important to have that pre-approval letter. What can be difficult is I know that you've looked at homes on Sunday, because I remember one time you called me when I was in church and you're like, hey, can you call this agent for me? And I mean, it was in the middle of
Doesn't surprise
2020,
me.
2021.
And by
but,
the way, you should not be answering your phone
but
during that time.
I did not answer.
Good heavens.
But the thing is that each situation is different what we're looking for, but we want to get that pre-approval letter to you. I like to talk to the agent and find out, do they want a dollar amount on that letter? Do they want it blank?
There's a lot of
agent's
particulars for sure.
what they want. And so we just want to have that available for you so that you can be able to make the strongest offer possible. Another thing is why I make myself available. If you make an offer on a home, I want to call the seller's agent and have a conversation about your qualifications. It's massively important to be able to do that. That's not something that a lot of lenders will do.
No.
And so that's where we want to get on the phone and talk to them about them and talk about what we've verified. We verified credit, we verified income, we verified down payment. We've got everything ready to go. I've talked to the agent about the timelines that are there. And so we've gone through, we've looked at a calendar. We know that we can be able to hit this timeline. I talked to them about, I have one processor that takes care of my loans. We send them to the underwriters. Our underwriters are in-house. These are all reasons why you should do your loan with the credit union, because we've really set up our team so that we can be able to help you succeed.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Any other questions?
No other questions. Jerry said, good job, Taylor and Beth.
Well,
Thank you, Jerry. This was my first one here.
Appreciate it.
I think we did okay.
I think we did a good job too.
Yeah.
And the first time on the camera.
Yeah, we are
Hopefully do.
considering camera or no camera. We'd love to know what you guys think. Should we
I
not
like
do a camera next time? Sometimes you feel a little awkward just like standing here, you know, like.
Well, if they're not looking
But-
at you, you know, you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's true. But no, it's, I think it's important to see the person that you could possibly be working with. And anyways, if there's
Agreed.
anything that we can help with.
So Beth, you live in Sugar House?
I do.
So I know that you post on, Beth is huge on social media. So if you want to find, she has good content that she puts on there all the time, but she talks about, she loves local. She posts house, even when they're not your listing. I share. You do share.
There's some great houses out there. Yeah. So my Instagram is Realtor Beth Manning. Super easy.
I really don't do social media as much. So, but I give everybody my cell phone. I'm available anytime that they need me. So contact us. We want to be in touch with you. Give us a call. Even if you have what you think to be a silly question, it's not silly.
Yeah, it's all good. So we hope to see y'all out in the community at some point. And thanks for coming.
Yeah, Linda says, thanks very much. Wonderful explanation. Teresa, camera worked great. Thank you both.
Oh, thank
like
you,
it.
Teresa.
Jerry said, do the camera.
I like it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, guys.
I'm loving Jerry.
We'll be posting
great.
this. You'll also get this in an email. So if you want to share this with anybody, you're more than welcome to be able to do that. We're also going to post it. We'll send that out so that you can be able to have access to it. If you want to share it with anybody, we'd love to be able to have that done. And if you need anything, reach out to us.
And here's the contact info on the screen too. if anyone
Perfect.
wants to write that down. So.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a great afternoon. Ciao.